Hey, here we go. That's right. Boston has entered the chat officially. Travis Thomas here with George Balekji here inside the plush, palatial PNC Bank studio. What's up with that face,
keep
bro?
Bringing them in.
He gave me a look like,
keep bringing them. Yeah, you're going plush, palatial.
And palatial.
No, I just like that on the fly. You went plush, palatial.
I did.
PNC Bank Sports.
It's a lot of P's, baby. That's a lot of P's. Travis Thomas here, of course, and with you, taking your calls as always, 617-790-0928. Leave us those voicemails. We always get to them, even the bad ones where you call us names. We love those too. You can also email us at thechat@nesson.com. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. I mean, it's like 24 hours past May Day and just feel even better. Like going back through, watching some of the All-22.
Look at you.
On this. You're watching it and they're like the minute details you want to see, right?
Footwork.
Yep.
Like center, quarterback exchange.
The Pop Douglas interception, the one that sailed over Pop, it was bad.
Yeah.
And that was with a clean pocket he could have stepped up into.
Sure.
The one he had Pop on that touchdown, I mean, there was havoc all around him, pressure. That was an off-platform throw.
Yeah.
Less off-platform than you're used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was spot on the money. You know what a lot of people said to me today? 3 different people, 3 different settings. And without me saying anything.
Yeah.
They asked, what do you think of Drake Maye? I said, exceeded expectations. They go, you know what that was? That was fun.
Wow.
And I think that's the important thing at the baseline. You enjoyed it. Man, if we sat through another 13-6, 20-6, 20-3, 41-3 final.
Well, that's why I wanted him in that Miami game. We can't go back into time, but if he starts that game, they win that game, and it's certainly more exciting than it was. That was a rock fight.
I am fine with all the timing in the world. I'm fine with all of it.
Yeah.
Because you know me too. It's a long play. But hey, to get back to your question, I'm doing great.
All right. Well, you gave me a lot there to unpack, and I appreciate that about you. That's what we love about GB here on Boston has entered the chat. Now, coming up, we'll break down some contradictions from the Patriots coaching staff. George and I have been clear how we feel about Drake Maye, but the coaching staff sort of contradicting themselves as it pertains to Drake Maye. We'll get into that. Plus, don't miss, we always do this, our winners and losers from Week 6 in the NFL season. And we've got some clarity now on Tua's health in Miami.
Interesting.
When he will or won't be back. We'll talk about that as well. But let's start with this contradictory stuff from the Patriots coaching staff. Okay, so you and I argued all offseason about this. Patriots coaches talked about this of, listen, if Drake Maye outperforms Jacoby Brissett, he's the man. He earns a starting job. That's when he'll play. That's been consistent across the board. To George's credit, he was screaming from the rooftops, no, that's part of it, but you also need to protect your investment. The offensive line must improve and must be decent before you even bring this kid in.
Structure.
So we argued about it because I wanted him to start from day one, as we all know. But as of today, Jerod Mayo, in an interview on WEEI, says that all this was predicated on the offensive line. So we have some contradictions here. Look, do you believe this? Do you believe they really moved up the Drake Maye timeline? And after watching this game, do you believe it was the right move?
They moved up the timeline because they were a 1-4 football team with an offense that could not break 14 points.
Yes.
And even against a bad Dolphins defense and in a very winnable game, the offense couldn't do enough to overcome poor structure. Couldn't do enough to overcome bad offensive line play in the pass pro, bad receivers, and bad play calling.
Yeah.
They had the running game there. If they won that Dolphins game, Jacoby Brissett would have started against the Texans.
Absolutely.
And the final would have been 47-13. And you know what? It would be Jerod Mayo, Alex Van Pelt, Ellie Wolf getting together and going, we can't put him out against the Jaguars in London. We can't debut him in London. We can't debut him in London. Let's keep it normal. Let's give it one more week and go against the Jets.
Sure.
So they would have bought time with the Dolphins game. They would have lost it again against the Texans. Even go back to that Seahawks game where they lost in overtime. The mishandling right before halftime. The awful wall that offense hit in the entire second half when Hunter Henry was taken out of the game plan. Again, receivers step up, offensive line is better, quarterback is better. They could have won that Seahawks game.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, instead of 1-4 heading into the Texans,
got a couple wins.
They would have been swap out.
Yeah.
That would have been 3-2.
Right.
And then there'd be 3-3. And there would be a whole different, and then maybe
whole different
they
energy.
can wait till, say, a week 8 or 9 on the road Titans Bears. what Jerod Mayo said, it was more based on seeing what we had up front with the offensive line. No duh. I mean, that's what the world saw, and we knew it. This was, and we go back to discussions we've had where Jerod Mayo couldn't go out and say, well, the offensive line is why we're not starting Drake Maye. Because offensive line, that's going to create rifts in the locker room, getting called out publicly. They were probably saying it behind closed doors. But as you said, it was a contradictions. What I think we see, and tell me if Jerod Mayo has done this before. Put his foot in his mouth and had to walk back stuff he said in the past. Like we go with the cash to burn line alone. And then everything else that goes around that. Love it, hate it. I like that that's a Jerod Mayo that gives answers. He is learning on the fly what it is to be a head coach. He needs to be smarter about what he says and be smarter on how to say nothing while still saying something.
Yeah.
Because who was a master at that?
Bill.
And we hated it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I didn't hate he wouldn't say anything. I would hate the lack of accountability and the lies he would put out there for Bill Belichick. But that's what Jerod Mayo is learning, and that's what he learned just by saying this, because we go in the past, and Jerod Mayo said when he's ready to go and if he's better than Jacoby, he'll play, he'll start. He said that going back into the summertime. After training camp, he said Drake Maye outperformed Jacoby throughout training camp. But when we put the whole body of work, going back to mini camp, Jacoby Brissett's better. AVP said the same thing. We're just trying to win games, so I would say no on the offensive line affecting Drake Maye. I think that we've just got to continue to do what's best for the team and get us in a position to win on Sunday.
Yeah.
Those are all lies. And it's the offensive line did affect Drake Maye, and I still feel the offensive line could affect Drake Maye. To your point, T, if Drake Maye started week 1, all those sacks, all those hits, we saw Jacoby Brissett digress.
Yeah, he did.
We saw him get less mobile. We saw him flee the pocket less. Yes, but yes, exactly.
He was never settled.
And even when there wasn't pressure imagining it, and that's what happens. That's why I'm interested on Drake Maye 4 weeks, 5 weeks on now for what happens.
Yeah.
But for them to have said in the past that the offensive line didn't affect it, it did, and say it. But they couldn't because they would be admitting that Elliot Wolf effed up and that they've messed up with building up this roster.
Bro, you gave me a lot there. I agree with so much of it. Let me go through the checklist. Let me go back to something you said about Jerod Mayo compared to Bill Belichick. Now, first of all, I don't even think Bill Belichick is getting enough blame for this current, I guess you could call it, state of the Patriots, right? Like, it's easy for us to sit up here, and we both have done it, and it's true, but Elliot Wolf just pretty much allowing this blind spot for the offensive line in the offseason is inexcusable.
Yes.
That's a fact. We've also talked about there were other options at quarterback to bring in as a veteran stopgap guy other than Jacoby Brissett. That's a fact. Better options. We agree there. That's on Elliot Wolf. A lot of things. But I don't think there's enough blame being passed out to Bill Belichick for just how bare this cupboard is. With that being said, Jerod Mayo needs to find a happy medium between the miserableness that was Bill Belichick towards the end of his tenure here and what you brought up, how he dealt with the media as well. We all know that, the old man grump that he was. But Jerod Mayo's too far on the other end of the spectrum, I think, and he's almost too transparent sometimes. He almost says too much.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think that's what we're getting here. When I say he needs to find a happy medium, I mean we don't want you going all the way back to the Belichick style. Give us something here.
Yeah.
And we like his energy. We like that, he at least has a pulse during these media sessions, whether it's a press conference or interviews like we're talking about now.
Yeah.
But also, don't give us too much like you're doing here, because now your coaching staff is on record as contradicting themselves, and it's just the last thing you need in already a tough season. With that being said, here's where we really agree. That Dolphins game with Jacoby Brissett, and I know it's kind of conspiracy theory-ish, but I mean, they threw the ball so many damn times in that game. They were non-committal to the run, which drove me and you nuts, and all of us nuts. That should have been a win in that game. But they threw the ball all over the yard with Jacoby Brissett. And I still to this day feel as though that game was Jacoby's chance to really put his stamp on being the starting quarterback moving forward.
Yeah.
When they lost that game at home, it cannot be – you can't overstate it enough. To lose that game at home – a winnable game against the Dolphins, who are on their third quarterback at this point, if that, probably more. you got to win that game. Jacoby was not able to get it done. It was time to go to Drake Maye, and I'm fine with it. I still don't believe it had anything to do with the offensive line. I know Mayo's saying that now. I believe in the previous comments of it's just going to come down who can make the plays and who can't. When Drake's ready, he's going to step in, and that's what I think it is. The offensive line stunk. We knew that all offseason when George was yelling at you that this team was really ignoring the offensive line. They just thought it would work itself out with what they had, and we all knew it was BS. Everyone knew this offensive line was going to stink coming into the season.
Yep.
All we have now is validation with the way they've played. I believe this was about Jacoby Brissett not taking hold of that starting job.
Yeah.
He had his opportunities. They gave him ample opportunities. He was not able to get it done. In comes Drake Maye, and if nothing else, you get a shot in the arm offensively. I do not believe it was offensive line predicated.
For the benching of Jacoby?
Yes.
And for this switch?
Yeah, I think Jacoby is the reason he got benched.
It was delayed from week 1 because of that, though. Like, Jacoby Brissett was brought in, and it got to a point where it hit a wall of you couldn't sell Jacoby, I hate to the fans, be to that locker room anymore if you're trying to win games.
Right.
And that's what it hit on. But the offensive line was so bad, they didn't want to put Drake Maye out there week 1. Again, a kid that came in raw. Like, his footwork looked good. At times making his base narrow. At times his feet not matching where he wanted to throw the ball. And, like, that's what he has to do, but also the all-platform working. He was not going to start week 1. And the second they signed Jacoby Brissett, we knew that was going to be the case. The second they drafted Drake Maye, we knew that was going to be the case because he wasn't a day 1 starter to be ready.
Right.
And again, it's the bigger picture. And that's why I bring up what Jacoby Brissett was week 1 and week 2. Like, moving on his feet, extending plays, making off-platform throws, making some magic happen amongst the chaos against the Bengals and along with the Seahawks as well. What he was doing in all these steps. Like, what was happening there was so crucial and so important for what the success was of the offense, but the wall was hit. And that was him getting beat up against the Jets. Yeah. That was him getting clobbered against the Seahawks as well. And it was what that offensive line did to him. So I agree. It still makes 0 sense why they weren't running the ball against the Dolphins.
0.
And if they won that game, then Jacoby would still be the starter. But it was, yes, Jacoby wasn't doing enough to retain that job.
That's right.
Like, you can't deny that.
That's what I think.
But why it wasn't a week 1 starter for Drake Maye was with Drake Maye outplaying Jacoby throughout training camp was they saw the offensive line. They saw the wide receivers. Let's face it. I mean, Pop Douglas was great. Jalen Polk was such a disappointment. 2 bad drops yesterday.
That's right.
Not creating consistent separation. It's just something that's weird in his head too. Like, he wasn't great, and that's a guy that has to have such a big role. KJ Osborne didn't play a single snap.
No.
Like, we can't ignore how bad that wide receiver room is still.
Bourne doesn't look right either. He's still
and it's going to take time. He's coming off a torn ACL. It's still going to take time.
Yeah.
But how this wide receiver room is constructed and how the offensive line is constructed, that's why. But for them to walk back makes sense, what they were saying, and for Jerod Mayo to address it now and say, hey, that had an effect. But this is why you go back to it. Just say it or say nothing.
Say
Learn how
nothing.
to say something without saying anything.
Yes, that's where I'm at. And that's what I'm saying. I don't want you to go full Belichick here. But, don't stop giving us so much, too, because we're just dissecting it. You literally contradicted your coaching staff. So, I'll tell you this. Here's the best thing you can do for Drake Maye. Give him a running game. Like, I get Ramondre's out and Antonio Gibson was non-existent and also not utilized properly, too. We talked about this after the game where, like, this is a versatile back. So how about there's some versatile packages in which you use him, get him out of the backfield, catching some passes, line him up in slot, give him some pitches instead of just handing it to him to run straight up the gut. That's not even his style of how he runs the ball. But
also,
here's the thing.
The Texans' run fits were fantastic on Sunday. There was no space for Antonio Gibson or JaMychal Hasty to work with.
Okay, but here's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get Ramondre back, A. B, the Jaguars can't stop the bleeping run. So run the ball. This is the best thing you can do for Drake Maye. And I understand we're talking about the offensive line here, and he said. But, man, if you run the ball, none of this stuff even matters. I don't want to get in a situation, George, where it's Drake Maye trying to outplay Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Right? And Trevor Lawrence is having his own struggles. Right now, I like Drake Maye in the fight. But I don't even want him in that situation. What I'd like to do here with a team on the ropes in the Jacksonville Jaguars, where guys are in the locker room literally saying, we quit. I think the best thing you could do is run the football down their face. I mean, take their soul. Ramondre, Gibson, Drake, all of them should be running the football. And then if you put Drake in that position, I think he can be even better. I think when you're asking him to drop back, you're down big to the Texans. I get it. He's got to throw you into the game. But this game, I don't think is going to be like that in London. In theory, this should be a close, ugly game between two bad teams.
It's a bad defense on the Jaguars.
Yes. So I think Drake Maye is going to have more opportunities here to sort of, don't throw tomatoes at me, manage the game. And then as it's a close game down the stretch, make the plays, shine then. Outplay Trevor Lawrence then in the moments, and Drake Maye can steal a win. But if you're going out there just having this guy
drop back 42 times like they did on Sunday,
it's not going to work.
And it's not sustainable.
No, it's not. And
With
you'll
what
lose.
this defense is, too, as well. Like, in a way, the Patriots have to protect their defense by keeping them off the field. And
That's
that is
what I'm
having
saying.
Eating up clock, taking the air out of the ball, running the ball more, especially in a matchup with the Jaguars who have struggled against the run. When they face the Jets, that defense has struggled against the run as well.
That's right.
That's where they have to be matchup smart. Now, again, and I said it on our last episode of the chat, lost to starting left tackle and left guard mid-game. And Vidarian Lowe, there's an MRI happening on Monday. So that doesn't sound good when there needs to be an MRI follow-up for the guy that's your backup / starting left tackle. I don't even know at this point what the depth chart is.
It's musical chairs.
Ben Brown, who on 4 days with the team, 2 practices started at center, but did great.
He did.
Mike Onwenu was good at right guard. DeMontre Jacobs was awful at right tackle. There's multiple ways to protect Drake Maye, and there's multiple ways just to manage the games. And you're right. And like I don't care about like talking about game management. When Patrick Mahomes went out in prime time against the Saints and had a great game, he was managing the game.
Yeah, he was.
He was throwing everything underneath, everything short, didn't challenge
He's been doing
deep,
that all year.
and it was all yards after catch for Juju Smith-Schuster looking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy is one of the best game managers.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels is dynamic, but he manages the game with his scrambles, off the play action, playing with the run game. That's the same thing that Tua does when he's great with Miami. That's what Sam Darnold does with the Vikings. It's system quarterbacks that manage a game and takes what is given to them. And you can make a long, successful career and have successful seasons doing that. Because we saw what Drake Maye did. Taking what the defense gave him, managing it, hitting underneath. And then when he saw something deep, him and Kayshon Boutte communicated, and they went deep. Him and Pop Douglas saw something to go back to that same exact route concept and pass play for a third time when they finally struck gold and got a touchdown. That is playing the long game, taking it play by play, surviving, keeping the offense on track, and then throwing those haymakers when you can. That's the beauty of what an offense should be, and that's called balance. You don't have to drop back and chuck it deep every single play. But yes, I didn't want Drake Maye to attempt more than 27 passes, let's say. He dropped back to pass 42 times.
Oh my gosh.
Can't do that, especially with this offensive line. Because let's keep in mind, 4 sacks. The last 2 were really bad. One of those is a strip sack. Where his elbow is basically touching his spine. Lands on his shoulder. The other one, Will Anderson, tagging him from behind. Hit 10 times, all those pressures, those add up over the course of a season. It's about, they were protecting Drake Maye by not starting him week 1. Now that he is starting and you see the offense having success, they still need to protect Drake Maye.
I want to move on to our winners and losers from around the league, but this just popped in my head, so I got to let this fly. Is there a way in which Trevor Lawrence struggles against the Patriots in London, and we see, drum roll please, Drake Maye against who? Mac Jones? Who Mac Jones? Will we see Drake Maye against Mac Jones in London? Pinkies up. Tea time.
How can I rule it out with how bad that offense
Wouldn't that be cray?
And how up and down Trevor Lawrence has been. I mean, he also had 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. And their loss
I feel
to the
like
Bears.
it's not really his fault per se.
Thank you.
Right?
So, to that point,
we won't see it.
I think it's Trevor Lawrence, Drake Maye down to the wire.
All right.
And again, that's a Jaguars team where like Travis Etienne is getting passed as their top running back.
It's like Tank Bigsby now.
Exactly. And imagine that, Urban Meyer burning that draft pick to go with Etienne.
Right.
It's the same thing where what we look at what the current roster is, and it's overcorrections, it's miscalculations.
Yeah.
I think in the simplest way, now they have Pop Douglas, but this offense for the Patriots needs a receiver in the baddest way possible.
Facts. If
you go back to the 2022 draft, in the offseason or 2021, Bill Belichick trades Shaq Mason to the Buccaneers. Yeah, it was 2021. And they get a 5th round pick in return. So then in 2022, they take Cole Strange in the first round when they could have had Trent McDuffie when they had a need at cornerback.
Wow.
Following draft, you have that need at cornerback, so they go Christian Gonzalez. You take Christian Gonzalez when you could have had a Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Oh.
These are like the minuscule minute parts where they're still dealing with a roster now that is paying the price for Bill Belichick
I'm telling you.
misdrafting.
They're letting them off the hook.
We'll get into that in a bigger convo,
Yeah.
but that's what they're dealing with now. So on top of that, again, you burned that first-round pick on Cole Strange.
Right.
He's not even in the lineup right now. We'll see what he is when he's back healthy. But look how bad this offensive line is. There's so many ways it could have addressed in different parts.
Bill's getting a pass, bro.
You don't need Jalen Polk in the second round if you have Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Right.
And with that pick, you could have gone with a actual left tackle.
Absolutely.
Or with that pick, there's so many different ways they could have sliced it on that draft to help out their offensive line. And with the JSN, with a comparable actual left tackle, who knows what the difference could be.
Hey, listen, we'll break this game down all week long. Get you ready for London. Obviously, here on Boston has entered the chat. But spoiler alert, it always goes back to gambling with me. The Jaguars right now are 5.5-point favorites over the Patriots.
Surprised by that.
I am taking the Patriots and the points. Thank you very much. Spoiler alert there. We want to hear from you, though. 617-790-0928 is the hotline number. Make it bling. Leave us a voicemail. We play it on the show all the times on the reg. Also, you can email us at chat@nesson.com.
Can I say one more real quick? One thing. There were 14 pressures, 13 without the blitz.
Yep.
Drake Maye was only pressured 33% of his dropbacks. That was him getting the ball out quick, moving the pocket,
Decisive.
finding time, bootleg, play action. He was great in, even without a run game. That is huge. You went from allowing pressures on 48% of dropbacks down to 33.
Yeah.
And this pass rush for the Jaguars is worse than the Texans.
Yep.
This defense for the Jaguars is worse than the Texans. That is huge, huge for Drake Maye in a second start.
I'm no math major, but it sounds pretty good. All right, let's go league-wide here after week 6. Little game we like to call winners and losers. Doo-doo-doo. Give me your winners from week 6.
So I have 2 winners. I'll start with the first one. Let's
Okay.
go like winner, winner. Right?
All right,
A little ping
winner,
pong.
winner,
Cool,
chicken
cool,
dinner.
cool. I like that. Your boy, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, facts.
269 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, only rushed for 22 yards. The Commanders had absolutely 0 run game against a good Ravens defense.
Yep.
And yes, the Ravens got the win. 30-23 was the final. Lamar was great. Derrick Henry was great. There was a Mark Andrews sighting. But Jaden Daniels was in control of the game. And with the same thing of under pressure, playing better. When there was havoc around him, stepping up. Throwing between the numbers, which I've criticized him for. He had one completion to Zach Ertz where it's in the red zone. He threw the pass to Ertz, who was down on the 2-yard line.
Sure.
But the tight window over Roquan Smith, he had to change his arm angle on the throw as well for Jaden Daniels. In the pocket, like in the pocket, wasn't running. It's passes like that. That's what makes Jaden Daniels special. And in all the hype around that of Jaden versus Lamar, is Jaden the next Lamar? And Jaden going, well, no, I'm just Jaden Daniels. I understand it. And yes, the Commanders got a loss, but Jaden Daniels continues to take steps forward.
Yeah.
That team is in such a good spot because of him and because of the play calling offensive system they have.
I mean, the Eagles can't get out of their own way. Look at the Cowboys now. They're reeling what they're dealing with. The Giants just are limited in what they're not the worst team I've ever seen like I thought they were, but they're limited in what they can do. I mean, I look at the Commanders right now. They should win that division, I think, going away at this point. So I agree with you there. For winners for me, I'm going to Tampa Bay Bucks. Now, stay with me.
Yep.
Because this is a lot. I was thinking about this, and I think I said it to you. I have a ticket on the Lions to not only go to the Super Bowl, but to win it.
Yeah.
I no longer have much confidence in that because I think losing Aidan Hutchinson, especially the way they did, that was an emotional loss for them too, in terms of his injury. The defense already wasn't very good. He was the main cog, the main piece in that defense that I could count on to rush the passer, make big plays, strip sacks. Like, the guy's a rock star. Now you take him out of the equation. I have zero faith in that defense to get anything done now. And then, Dan Campbell being a cowboy, and I don't mean like a Dallas cowboy. I mean that like a gambling man, like a riverboat gambler, the way he calls plays and goes for it and has all these. I know you're going to talk about a play they had late in that game where they were up and he risked everybody's health. So I just look at the Lions now not with as much confidence as I did. I say all that to say Niners aren't quite the same team. I think the NFC is wide open. And the Bucs have as good a chance as anyone to come out of the NFC. They absolutely smoked the Saints this week. Smoked them. Saints were up in that game. Didn't matter. Bucs come back, beat their ass.
But Baker threw 3 interceptions.
I know.
3.
But kid's got moxie.
Yeah.
He's got moxie.
He
keeps coming at you. He's a Terminator.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Bucs schedule. We're going to learn as much about them as we need to know in the next month. This is why I'm making them my winner now, because in 2 weeks from now, I could be calling them Fugazi. But they get Baltimore on Monday night next week, then Atlanta. That's a huge game for the division, right? Yep. Kansas City in Arrowhead on a Monday night, so another primetime game. And then, the following week, they get the 49ers. Now, you get them at home, but still. Then they go into the bye week. Look, if you can go in those 4 games, Baltimore, Atlanta, Kansas City, and San Fran, hell, if you go 2-2, I'm still on the Bucs train. I am. In the NFC that's wide open, if you can go 500 in that hellacious schedule for the next month and you go into your bye 2-2, you're feeling pretty good. I think the Bucs have a good a shot as anyone in the NFC to represent the NFC. That's my winner.
Bucs 17-1 to win the NFC.
It's not the worst bet.
Hey, real quick, Commanders are still plus 120, depending where you look, to win the division,
'Kay.
which is a bad number because I don't even
you
know.
You could have got it.
I don't know
better.
if they were preseason.
Yeah.
After their win over the Giants, they were 7-1 to win the AFC.
Wow.
But to still get it plus money, like I made that play. Once I saw it, I said, I'm gonna grab this before it goes into -1, whatever. The Packers 5-1 to win their division.
That's your pick. Yeah, that's been your pick since the beginning.
I like the Packers. I still hold my breath. I don't know why. I'm not going to believe in a Packers defense until I really see it.
Sure.
And JF Hafley's done a great job with them. I still need to see more. 5-1 to win their division. Aidan Hutchinson goes down. The one cover that defense had was Aidan Hutchinson providing pressures.
Yeah.
And he goes down with an awful injury. I feel bad for Aidan Hutchinson because that's not something you recover from next season.
Heck no.
It is a season after that.
Yeah.
This is a guy, 3rd year in the league. As we see all these rookies, after year 3, holding out, banging on the door for extensions. I want year 4, final year of a rookie deal, and then I want that extension. Boom, guaranteed money kicking in year 5. Injuries like what happened to Aidan Hutchinson is why. Because that kid was looking at a $30 million AAV.
Yeah. Easy.
Easily is one of the best pass rushers.
Yes.
This is a huge shot to lines, but I feel for Aidan Hutchinson.
Yeah.
I really do in that. My quick, I'll go winner, and then I'll piggyback off you talking lines with my loser. Another winner, and both teams lost this week, but it is the Patriots.
Yeah.
Because Drake Maye dazzled. Drake Maye exceeded expectations.
There's hope.
You were hoping for... The box score has 3 turnovers. One wasn't his fault. It's chalk it up to the game.
Yep.
The other one, kid, get the ball out quicker. You had time. Hey, you're going to learn and you're going to catch your licks. Just the layer that he added to that offense and overcoming adversity early in the game. Like interception on his second possession. There was a strip sack in the game as well, taking a lot of hits, and he kept stepping up and kept challenging downfield and making winning plays. It says a lot about him. My loser, though, is the Lions. You lost Aidan Hutchinson, who's their best player on defense, where you and I have talked about what they need to do. And I said, go trade for Devontae Adams. Then go out and get some player in the secondary to upgrade because that's where they need helps on the back end. Now they have to look of how many first-round picks for Max Crosby for the Raiders. A Raiders team that said it would take multiple firsts. We're not going to listen to it. But Crosby has said if they don't keep Antonio Pierce, he would demand a trade. That's a team that's in a rebuild. And get your draft picks. But also for a Lions team, do whatever it takes to get Max Crosby because you need to replace that productivity.
Yeah.
But you said it. With Dan Campbell being a Cowboy, I understand it's a statement game. You obviously hate the Cowboys. There's a history there.
Sure.
It goes way back. After you lose Aidan Hutchinson to that type of play, a nothing play, a normal sack, just a freak incident, you then run a hook and ladder with Penei Sewell, your best offensive lineman.
Arguably the best in the league.
Exactly. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Same thing with Taylor Decker, having him line up out wide to catch a touchdown pass. Again, what are you doing? Put these guys in these spots. Where after you lose Aidan, let's get out of here. We're blowing them out. We're kicking their teeth in. Let's just get out. This sucks. You're doing that to just, it is, when you talk about moxie, it is just the arrogance to run a play like that after you lose Aidan Hutchinson, just not justifiable. Let alone doing that with Penei Sewell. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But after that happened to Aidan Hutchinson, it's a loss for the Lions because they lose Hutch. It's a double loss because of how reckless they were with Penei Sewell as well.
That's well said. Listen, for my losers, I'm going Doug Pederson here.
I like that.
I mean, listen, this guy lost momentum. We were talking 2 weeks ago about how maybe he saved his job. Remember, it was a nail-biter win over the Colts.
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence damn near threw for 400 yards in that game. Looked good. Finally looked like maybe a coming-out party for him this season because he had struggled up until that point.
Yep.
Doug Pederson were like, all right, he brought some more time for his job at least. Let's see how they look in London against a rookie quarterback in the Bears. And they go over there, which is a home game for the Jags, and get smoked by a rookie quarterback. Now we're like, all right, Doug Pederson's going to get fired any day now, especially if they lose to the Patriots. So I think the Jags had a chance to have some momentum there, and they lost it. Now players are talking about guys are quitting on that team. I think Doug Pederson is the loser until further notice as it pertains to this game. But we want to hear from you. 617-790-0928 is the hotline, and you can also email us at thechat@nesson.com.
I hope we hear from our friends from North Carolina or South Carolina.
Now it's radio silence. First, it was like, you guys don't deserve Drake Maye.
You don't want to play him. Trade him. You ain't going to play him. You trade Drake Maye. You don't keep him. You're really, really stupid. That's what I was said. And, I could be really dumb at times. But you saw the 14 times he was hit. That's going to add up. That's why I say don't play Drake Maye.
That's a fact.
And our guy Sammy isn't all the way wrong either, where he's going in. Man, you be careful what you ask for. You're coming in with pitchforks like it's the Salem witch trials.
Bro, it's not Alabama roll tide.
I know
it's just
the accents are. I don't have like I'm 0-100 with my southern accent. I don't have like 45 in the right lane, like cruising down the country roads. Hey, last real quick loser, Nick Sirianni. Like what a loser that guy is.
What a loser.
You beat the Browns, who are the worst offense in the NFL, and you're like doing the let me hear you, whatever. Is that Triple H? I don't know. At fans.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Dude,
that's what it is.
Just the immaturity. If I'm a player playing for him, I'm like, what are you doing, bro?
He's a loser, bro.
Like, you just again, just the arrogance and just, it's like the false bravado. Like, shut the F up.
Yeah.
We suck. Your offense sucks. You bring in Kellen Moore and you're forcing him to run your offense.
Right.
Let go. He is such a loser, man.
Some coach out there is going to hit the lottery with that job. With that Eagles job. All right, let's talk about Tua here. So Mike McDaniel had some interesting quotes I want to run by you here. So McDaniel says, quote, as far as the timeline goes, I know he's not playing this week, but I do expect to see him playing football in 2024. But where that is exactly, we'll let the process continue. Translation, Tua's coming back. And this is an I told you so moment for me, because I told you, all these teams around the league talk about player safety and we care about our players. Mm-hmm. It's BS. I mean, what do you keep doing in the NFL? You keep adding games, right? The Thursday night game is not good for anyone's health. And quite frankly, it's not even a great product. So, we care about player safety. BS, bruh. Okay? Or you're adding games. At some point here, we're going to be playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night football, Thursday. But you care about player safety, right? And they keep adding games as well in the regular season. Your regular season's getting longer. It's just a matter of time. You're going to start letting in more playoff teams, just like college football. Everybody get it. Everyone makes the playoffs. Like, we don't need to see Boise State, bro. Like, we know damn well you're not a playoff team. We're going to see it in the NFL as well. They continue to add.
Yeah.
I say all that to say, Mike McDaniels and others saying that we care about Tua. No, you don't. No, you don't, bro. Every time this guy gets hit, he gets a concussion. He doesn't even get hit hard anymore, and he gets concussions. He literally gets tackled to the ground, to the field, to the turf or the grass. And he has a concussion, and he's out. How many times have we seen this happen now? But I expect to see him this season. I bet you do. You know why? Because I think we'll see him by the time they play the Patriots. I think Tua's back in that lineup. There's no doubt in my mind, because they don't care about players. Tua shouldn't even play anymore, personally. I mean, someone should be in Tua's ear saying, hey, man, like, let's work the contract thing out. But let's think about your health moving forward.
I mean, he had a $43 million signing bonus, right? Now he could get up to $167 million in guarantees.
I'm sure there's insurances and all that too.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's where, if you're Tua Tagovailoa, you step away. Guy's charismatic.
Yeah.
Good-looking dude. Everyone loves him.
He'll be fine.
Since he became more about himself and cared less about what other people think and saying the right thing, he's been at his best. Like talking in the media, some sit-down interviews I hear him in. And his family had their hesitancies of him coming back to play before this season. You get that $43 million signing bonus. That's it. $43 million. That is life-changing money. That is generational wealth.
It is.
And what he can do with people that we know that have worked in the Miami market.
Yeah.
You're a Dolphin, you are taken care of.
For life.
Dealership deals,
Yep.
media appearances, whatever it can be. Like, you are set.
Yep.
He's going to find no shortage of work. And networks are out there giving Jason and Devin McCourty jobs. What do you think they're going to do for Tua Tagovailoa? Like, fresh out of retirement, taking those guys.
Facts.
So Tua doesn't even have to keep himself just to a Miami market. It would be a national scale what he can do if he even wants to do that. Or he could sit back, relax on his $43 million and take time. Like, that's a thing. There definitely are the working out what can happen, working out, the fine print in a contract. How do you get the most money without risking it? They're on the road at the Colts next, but what the lineup they have, Colts, Cardinals, Bills, Rams, those are 4 bad defensive lines. Those are 4 bad defenses he would match up with.
Yeah.
Those are soft landings, but as we saw for Tua, it's not how many hits, it's the one hit.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that has to come back with a Guardian cap, I don't care. With the I forget what the name of it, but there is like the neck brace players where the science behind it is no, not the neck roll. It's literally they wear it around their neck like Tony Pollard wears it and Braylon Allen. It increases blood flow to the brain, so there's more cushion.
Yeah.
In theory, allegedly, that's what that necklace does
thing.
That players can play with.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to come back with every single precautionary piece taken before he takes a field. I don't think he should return at all. I think it's much bigger than football. It's his life and his death and his quality of life for his kids down the line.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, to hear that, he's coming back.
What's it called, Brendan? He said in my ear, Guardian
cap's what they wear on their head. You talk. I'm going to do the quick Google.
All right. Filibuster time. By the way, you mentioned that soft schedule, right? I mean, here's the reality, and this is another reason why I believe they're bringing
Q collar.
That's why they're bringing Tua back too. I mean, the Dolphins are 2-3 in a bad division. Like, who do you trust? Bills, Jets, neither. How's that sound? And we know the Patriots are going nowhere fast. So if you're the Dolphins, again, broken record Trav here. We care about his health. We're 2-3 in a bad division. Like, Tua, we could use you here, buddy. I think he's coming back, and they still, call me nuts, I am. They still have a chance to win this division. I would not be shocked if they bring Tua back and do all these precautions that you're laying out, whatevs. He's in the lineup, and the Dolphins still, somehow, some way, win this damn division. Not only is he coming back, in my prediction, I think it's sooner rather than later, and I would not be shocked if it's in this soft schedule that George mentions. At Colts, home against Arizona. I mean, you could get them at home. That feels like a perfect spot right there in a winnable game.
And that'd be 5 weeks since he suffered the concussion.
Since he suffered it. Yep. And then you go on the road for a couple games. Buffalo, that's a huge game. You don't want them to debut on the road against your division rival in a game that will matter. So I think that home game against Arizona is the one. And then you go out to the West on a Monday night primetime against the Rams. Tua's coming back in 2 weeks.
Again, and like I said, it's not how many hits, it's the one hit. And let's look past the Rams.
Yep.
Max Crosby, who could still be with the Raiders.
Oh, God.
Patriots can't generate pressure even with blitzing. That's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
Then after that, Green Bay, New York, Houston, San Francisco, Cleveland, New York.
That Green Bay game that you glossed over is a Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's prime time.
But think how good that defensive line is and how good that defense is for Green Bay. The New York Jets with a great pass rush. The Houston Texans, who we just saw.
Oh,
the Niners with Bosa.
He's going to get
Cleveland,
smoked,
if they
bro.
still have Myles Garrett, but that's still a good defense. New York, again, with a great pass rush. That's a thing of, like, if it's not this season, it's going to be next, and that's what the fear is.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like he should step away from the game.
Right.
It's been bad, and every time you suffer concussion, the likelihood of suffering another concussion increases.
We've seen it with him.
The probability.
Yeah.
Exactly. It went from hard hits to just normal hits.
Normal
like
hits
the
now.
DeMar Hamlin one was a weird hit where he
Yeah.
generated it, but also it's like you're just running into DeMar Hamlin. Who's
It appears to
who
me
didn't
when I
even
watch
blade a
him, it seems like it's when he hits the ground to me, George. Like it's not a few of these concussions with
Yeah.
Tua. It's not the impact of the hit.
It's second
like,
impact.
yeah, bro. When he hits the ground, he's out. It's lights out.
That's the scariest thing of it all, man.
Yeah.
And what people have said, like, well, Brett Favre had over like 1,000 concussions. I mean, he just came out with what he's dealing with now.
That's
and
right.
that is a direct correlation to repeated head trauma.
Yeah.
Like that is a reality.
Yeah, the culture's changed too since Brett. Where back then it was a badge of honor to stay in a game if your bell got rung, which
Yeah.
is why Favre did it, right?
But as we saw
Now
with
the
Josh
culture-
Allen against the Texans,
Well, right.
even their
But
new systems aren't perfect.
That's my point. It's a hypocrisy of
yes.
we care, but we're adding games. We're adding days to these games. We're not giving you more rest. We're taking away rest. We're adding regular season games. You watch. I'm telling you. We're going to start adding playoff games, and you don't care about the player safety.
The NFL does never cared about player
No,
safety.
hell no.
They do not care about player safety.
Lip service.
Money.
That's right.
It's all about money. Why are they playing games in London? It's fun. I bet they
Yeah.
love the experience. Why are they playing games in Brazil on an awful grass field that isn't capable of having NFL teams on it? Why are they playing in London? Why are they playing in Germany? Why are they doing these international games? Why do they have these ridiculous road trips as well, like 2 trips out to the West Coast?
Jeez.
Or these turnarounds where they're playing like the Jets did to start the season,
Yeah.
3 games in 11 days, Monday night, Sunday, Thursday night games. Why do they do this?
They don't
because
care.
they don't care about the players. The owners care about their pockets. That's all they care about. That's all it's ever been for the NFL. It's all about money. Every dumb decision they make, why? Money. That's what it always has been. The NFL doesn't give a damn about Tua. The NFL doesn't give a damn about any of the players.
Preach.
And that's why someone like Tua Tagovailoa, that guy is guaranteed money. In a way, I'm happy that happened. That he got his guaranteed money. If that pressure was still there, he would be coming back, and I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
But he got it. He got it, and he could still make millions more throughout his life and have his quality of life down the line. But I just don't believe it's going to happen if he gets back on the field. If not this season, it's next. If it's not next season, it's the season after.
Bro, you brought up all these international games. Roger Goodell says that he wants a Super Bowl outside of the U.S. He wants an international Super Bowl in the not-so-distant future. I looked this up, George. These international games and the NFL's obsession with, jamming football down the throat of every country that doesn't give a rat's what about it. There's 5 international games alone this season. So every year we see these increase, right? George, I look to next season. There's 8 international games scheduled for next season. I mean, we're headed to a Super Bowl in one of these countries, and it ain't the U.S. And this isn't some anti-other country rant, but like the Super Bowl belongs to us, right?
Yeah.
And not even in a it's ours chest out way. These other countries don't care.
Yep.
Football's it's an international sport, but we care about it the most in America. You're going to take the Super Bowl out of America? Like, these players work their tails off. Now what? So your family, they can afford it. Don't get me wrong, but you got to fly your entire family and friends out to where? To see you play in the Super Bowl? It's insane to me, George.
It's also, I can't imagine that happening because the owners of these teams mostly reside in the cities.
Yeah.
And with these billionaires, with these either privately or publicly funded new stadiums,
right,
the way you help offset that payment and pay it back is hosting Super Bowls. And think of a city like Indianapolis, where I've been there multiple times, and I'm like, these hotels are nice. I go, wasn't there before we hosted the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Brand new stadium. All the, the construction of it all and all the logistics of how a city is built.
Yeah.
With Minnesota, same thing. Got a brand new stadium, have tunnels that connect buildings and malls and hotels to each other.
Underground, so you didn't have to go out. Yeah.
But all that is built, and that's the money you get from when you commit to hosting a Super Bowl. But on top of, we get into it again. If you're a player in the NFL, your dream is to play in the Super Bowl. And the biggest game of your life, what you dreamt about your whole time, you go, oh, I can't even play in front of my
family.
Yeah.
Well, you can.
I need to get 50 of them over to Europe on top of playing for the Super Bowl.
That's right.
And also, why are these London games kicked off at 9:30 in the morning? There's a huge time difference.
Absolutely.
What time is the Super Bowl going to kick off? Noon?
Oh, right.
Like what?
I didn't think about that.
That's a 7 o'clock kickoff locally in London? I don't hate the idea of a noon Super Bowl. But also, what are you doing? It's just it's spitting in the face to the players. It's spitting in the face to the leagues, to the American fans, and it's spitting in the face to the owners of these teams as well. If UEFA brought their championship match for soccer to the States, I'd be like, what are we? We don't deserve this. Are you kidding me?
Right.
We don't care about soccer. Are you kidding me? They don't care about football over there. They don't. What are we doing? You can grow the game. I do like the international games as much as I just ripped on them when they're done wisely and smart. Super Bowl in London, Super Bowl in Europe.
It don't hit the same.
Super Bowl not in America. F you. Get out of my face.
Yeah, it don't hit the same. By the way,
go F yourself.
A Super Bowl,
not you. Roger
Super
Goodell.
Bowl at noon is kind of dangerous, dog. Like if you think about Super Bowl Sunday, the game's at night. You kind of build your day to get the food together and all that. You make your plans, and then when the Super Bowl's over, you know. You've had a good time, but it's time to go to bed. Most of us struggle the next day at work. If it's at noon, oh, George, all bets are off. You can party that hard, and then after the game, you still have an opportunity to go out and be outside. That's going to be a problem. There's going to be people that are too hammered, too trash, trying to live their Sunday night, and it's going to cause issues. We just can't have it. Keep it how it is, Roger Goodell. You're greedy enough. Just relax.
I wish I knew you when I was in college or fresh out of college.
I'm so glad we met now and not then. I'm telling you,
I probably
man.
would have hated you.
No, you would have loved me. We would have just gotten in trouble. Yes.
A lot of it.
We would have gotten
Both
a lot
of
of
us.
trouble. Hey, by the way, you could see this bromance unfurl on Foxborough Rush as well. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. And also for all of our best content of the day across the network here at Nesson, make sure to follow us on Facebook, X, IG, YouTube, and TikTok. That's it. Rebosson has entered the chat here inside the PNC Bank studio. TT, GB. Till next time, peace.
Later.